Hey guys, it's Phil again from Earth Nails and Tails, and today we're going to be spicing things up a bit. We're going to be taking the sweet and hot peppers that we've been growing in the garden and heading into the kitchen and whipping up some homemade hot sauce. So let's get started. Alright, so for those of you that don't know, we grow a variety of peppers in our garden from sweet to hot. So for our recipe today, we're going to be utilizing our sweet peppers, which we have our banana peppers here, which grow really well in the south. And then we also have jalapeno peppers as well as the skinnier Serrano peppers. So my experience, Serrano peppers are a little bit hotter than jalapenos. So what we're going to be doing is making two types of hot sauces, a more mild variety and then a hotter variety. So we're going to get into the recipe in a little bit, but we have some of our peppers here that have ripened a little bit. So we're going to be using the more red peppers for our hot sauce, for our hotter sauce, just so we have a color differentiation between our hot and our mild sauces. And then for our mild hot sauce, we're going to be using the greener peppers. So for our mild hot sauce, we're going to be doing a 2-to-1 ratio of our sweet peppers to our hot peppers, and we're going to, as I said, we're going to be doing a mixture of jalapeno and serrano. And then for our hot sauce, we're going to be doing a 1-to-1 mixture of our sweet peppers and our hot peppers. So today what we're going to be doing is the first part of creating the hot sauce, which is fermenting the peppers. So all we're going to be doing is creating a brine, very much like the pickle video that you've seen previously. But we're going to be creating a brine with salt and water, and then these peppers are going to be sitting in that brine for about a week. And then after that is when we will take those peppers out of the brine and blend them to create the hot sauce. So now that I talked about the ratios, what we're going to do is use 2 mason jars that are 1 quart each. So our brine is going to make enough to fill up those 2 quarts. And we have our peppers weighed out. So each hot sauce or each jar of hot sauce is going to be using 3/4 pounds of peppers. We have a scale here in ounces, which is really the best way to break it down. So basically we're going to be using 6 ounces of hot peppers for the hotter sauce, and then 6 ounces of sweet peppers. And then for the milder one, we're going to be using 4 ounces of hot peppers and then 8 ounces of sweet peppers. Alright, so before we put our peppers in our jars to ferment, we're first going to take our peppers and we're going to cut off the stems, and then we're going to slice them down the middle. This is going to make sure that the brine that we make is going to be able to get into the whole portion of the pepper and really kickstart that fermentation process and get that good bacteria growing throughout the whole pepper. So we have our peppers weighed and measured here, so we're going to cut them now and then we'll show you how we put them in the jars. Alright guys, so now that we have our peppers weighed and measured, again, the red peppers are going to be our hot sauce, which has equal amounts of sweet and hot peppers, and then we have our mild sauce, which has a 2-to-1 ratio of sweet to hot peppers, so this one's going to be a little bit more mild. And when you're cutting your peppers, I definitely recommend wearing some sort of gloves, because the capsaicin, which is what makes the peppers hot, has leaked into your hands. I'm sure that if you cut up some hot peppers before, you know that they'll leak into your skin, so I definitely recommend wearing some gloves while I'm cutting the peppers. So let's set up the time lapse, and we'll be back when I'm done cutting all these guys. So to all of you that have been watching my videos from the start, I really appreciate your support. And if there's something that you want to see out of my other videos, if it's more recipes, more gardening, more harvesting, let me know what you want to see down in the comments below, because I really want to just create the content that you guys want to see and help you to continue to learn and grow. Alright guys, so now that I have all these peppers cut, I'm just going to finish off by putting this hot sauce, or the peppers for the hot sauce, into this jar here. Now you're also going to want to add about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic in each of these jars before you put the brine in. So one thing I want to say is I would definitely start the brine before you start cutting the peppers, because you want the brine to be at room temperature before you pour them onto the peppers. So in the background, what you want to do to create the brine is get 4 cups of filtered water, and then you're going to add 4 teaspoons of salt, and then you're going to bring that to a boil and make sure that that salt is all mixed in and incorporated into that water, and then let it cool down to room temperature before you add it to these jars. So now we're just going to sit and wait for this water to cool down, and then we're going to add them to the peppers. Alright, so now that our water has finally cooled, again, that's 4 cups of water and 4 teaspoons of salt, and we brought it to a boil, and now we've let it cool. So now we're just going to add this to the jar. So I'm going to just do my best to split it evenly between these. And this brine mixture is going to help these peppers ferment, which anytime you ferment something, it's helping to break down the fibrous material inside of the peppers, which is going to help bring out the flavor, just make the hot sauce that much better. So we want to add some water, and then you can see some bubbles are starting to come up, so we just want to tap these. Give them a few taps just to make sure we get all the air bubbles out. And then add more water or more brine as we need to. Once we get all the bubbles out and we try to get this filled as much as possible, we're going to take some cheesecloth and the tops of our mason jars here. We're just going to lay the cheesecloth over the top of the jar, and then we're going to twist the lid on. The reason why we're using cheesecloth instead of just a mason jar lid is because we're fermenting, and what fermentation is just using beneficial bacteria to help break down that tissue, as I said, of the vegetables that we're using here. So using a cheesecloth is going to allow for air and bacteria to actually get inside of this jar and start that fermentation process. So now this is it. This is all we need to do in order to get the peppers starting to ferment. So what we're going to do is just take them and put them in a warm, dark place. So I'll probably just throw them up in the cupboard or one of the cabinets at the highest shelf so it stays warm, and then we're going to leave them there for a week, about 5 to 7 days. And another marker that will tell you that it's ready or fermented is that this water is going to start to become pretty cloudy, and that'll tell you that it's ready to go. And make sure that your peppers are staying covered the whole time in the brine, otherwise you're going to have some moldy peppers. Okay guys, so it's been a week and we're just about ready to finish up making our hot sauce. And before we get into the second step after the fermentation process, I just wanted to go into some supplies that you may or may not need in order to store your hot sauce. So I'm going to be using some glass bottles that I got off of Amazon. You can also get them at IKEA if you have an IKEA near you, but you should be able to get these from somewhere there, or you can save some old hot sauce bottles, or you can get hot sauce specific bottles. These ones are not technically hot sauce bottles, they're just like an open lid, sealable top, but they do make bottles that actually have, the small lids with the holes in the top for hot sauce, so you can just dab it, but I can just pour this on here. So I have them. This is what I'm going to be using. And then also you're going to need a funnel of some sort in order to get the hot sauce mixture into the bottle. So just a couple things that you need. And if you don't have a bottle, you don't want to spend the money getting a bottle, and if you have some mason jars, because the mason jars are probably a lot cheaper than these, you can just use your mason jars, and then whenever you want your hot sauce, you can just spoon it out onto whatever you're eating. The last thing that I'm going to say that you need is some sort of food processor or a blender, because we are going to be using this in order to blend up all the peppers and the garlic that we had in the hot sauce, or to make the hot sauce, and that'll blend everything up nice together to get that consistency that you're used to. So I'm going to get the peppers. So I've stored them in this cabinet for the last week. So they've been kept relatively at room temperature. Haven't really messed with them much, but you can see here how it got pretty cloudy, and you can even see it more toward the bottom, and you can also see how these bubbles are coming up. So that's the gases created from the fermentation process. So again, this is our mild, and that's going to be distinguished by the green color. And then here is our hot sauce. Oh, so you can see all these bubbles coming up. So that's good. This is telling me, so the cloudiness and the bubble formation is telling me that these are ready to make hot sauce. Another thing that I'm going to need is a strainer and something to strain it into, because we are going to save the brine. So we're going to strain the brine out, and then we're going to be reusing the brine to make the hot sauce. And then the very last ingredient we need is some apple cider vinegar. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start with the mild, so that way I don't have to clean the blender out when I do the hot sauce. So we want to start with the mild sauce, because if we did the hot sauce first, the hotter one first, then it would make this one a little bit hotter. Alright, so unfortunately I had some technical difficulties doing the first recording of the mild hot sauce, but I just want to show you guys that final product here. And I'm going to be doing the exact same thing for this hot sauce, so don't be worried, you're still going to get the exact same content, but I just want to show you what this final product looks like. And I did try some, and it is spicy, so that makes me nervous about the hot sauce that I'm about to make. I might tear up a little bit when I try that one, but as you can see, it's a nice consistency. It does have some thickness to it still, and I'm going to show you how to blend it properly so that way you can get the desired consistency that you want. So again, we're going to take our jar of our peppers and our garlic, and we're just going to pour that into our measuring cup here. And we want to pour the brine out first, just so we have some reserve in order to make the consistency a little bit more watery, if that's what we desire. But I'm going to save my mason jar here because it does have a measuring cup on it. I'm going to get all the brine out, and then I'm just going to pour the peppers into the jar. So if you were making one large batch, you would use 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. But since we're making 2 half batches, I'm gonna use basically 1/6 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. So I'm gonna just fill this up about halfway. It doesn't have to be perfect. And this is just gonna add some really good acidity and flavor to the hot sauce. Help preserve it a little bit longer as well. So we're gonna pour that in here. And then I'm gonna take about 1 cup of brine out of here. So now we're done with the strainer. I'm gonna take about 1 cup of brine. And you can start out with a little bit less if you want a thicker hot sauce. But I know about the consistency that I want requires about 1 cup, which is looking like about the amount of brine that's left. So this is basically the wateriest hot sauce that you're going to make with this recipe. So now I'm going to take that 1 cup. Here, you see how cloudy that is? That's good. That's showing you that the fermentation process was done. So now we're going to pour that into our blender. And now that's all that's left to do is blend it up. So we want to start on low and then go to medium and then high. The reason why I want you to start on low is because we're going to blend it and then we're going to stop it, look at it, see what the consistency is like, and then if you want it a little bit more watery or more broken down, then we're just going to pump it up to medium and then high. So let's do that. Get this guy going. So we just blended it for about 30 seconds, and this one's actually breaking down much quicker than the other one, so it is already starting to get a little bit watery, but I do want to break it down a little bit more, so I'm probably going to pop it on again for about another 30 seconds, and I'm going to put it on medium this time, and then go to high for the last about 5 seconds. Alright, so now that I have the desired consistency that I want, I'm just going to take my bottle and my funnel. And honestly, I love this Ninja because it has this little thing up here that you can just pour it right out. So now we're gonna just pour it into this funnel, aiming for the center so that way everything goes in there. So you can see that consistency is really, really nice. Alright, so we do have a little bit left in here, but at least this bottle's full. And that color is just amazing. You can see there's still some seeds in there, which will help maintain that heat that we're looking for. But I mean, just look at those two. That color is amazing. Alright, so now I have to try this one. So I'll do the mild again first, since you guys didn't see me do that one. And even though it's mild, I guess the Serranos and the jalapeños that we grew this year are pretty spicy. So yeah, at first you get that nice flavor right from the peppers and also from the apple cider vinegar. And then after a few seconds later, you start getting that heat, getting a little sweat going. I'm gonna rinse the spoon off just so I don't mess with the flavor of the hotter sauce. Pretty nervous, not gonna lie. Let's see how this goes. So this is gonna thicken up a little bit over time. And since I didn't add any thickeners to it, just right before you use it, just shake it and it'll be fine. But here's to you guys. That's good too. I mean, that's really, really good. I think letting the peppers ripen and get that red color really deepens the flavor of the hot sauce. And it's not as hot as I thought it was going to be. It's still hot. You could probably see my face turning red and my eyes starting to tear a little bit, but it has such good flavor. So mixing this in with something else is definitely going to be excellent. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You know, one really important thing about homesteading is not only growing your own food or raising your own animals, but it's really being able to preserve the food that you grow for long periods of time. So making hot sauce is definitely one way that you can preserve peppers. So this hot sauce is going to have to go in the refrigerator because we didn't use any preservatives or anything. We didn't can it, so we can't leave it out on the counter for storage. So these are going to have to go in the refrigerator. But both of these should last about 3 to 6 months. So I want to hear your feedback about this recipe, and I do have to give a shout out to Hopefully, because that's where I did get this recipe from. So shout out to them. It is a great recipe, makes excellent hot sauce. I'm so excited to use this on all my food. But if you guys do make this recipe, make sure you drop your comments below. Tell me what you think. And if you did learn something from this whole process, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, and share with your friends, because we really just want to continue to teach people about homesteading and growing your own food and preserving it and just enjoying everything that you grow to the maximum potential. And again, my name is Phil from Earth, Nails, and Tales, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Stay spicy.